From 1st of March, PlayStation Plus subscribers can play Team Sonic Racing, Ghostrunner, Ark Survival Evolved, and Ghost of Tsushima Legends, all for free. But are they any good? Hello, I'm Phil, you're watching UnCapt Gaming, and this is On the Plus Side, where we give our take on the free games available to PlayStation Plus subscribers. PS Plus is the subscription service for online multiplayer gameplay. Each month, as an added bonus, members get access to free games. PS4 owners get 2 free games, whilst PS5 owners get access to those through backwards compatibility, as well as a game for the PS5. If claimed during the month, the games remain available for as long as you remain a member of PS Plus. This month, PS4 and PS5 owners get a bonus game, Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Subscribe now to stay up to date with new releases each month and what we think of them. Released in 2019, Team Sonic Racing isn't the first racing game to feature the blue blare, but despite being an ardent Sonic fan since the days of the Sega Mega Drive, it's the only one I've actually looked at. Why does Sonic need a racing car? It'll probably slow him down. However, from the off, this game is fun. It's not quite on the level of Mario Kart, though the last time I played that was whilst drunk at Christmas, so it may not be a fair comparison. Unlike Mario Kart, the premise here is cooperative team gameplay rather than competitive every man for himself gameplay. It's based around helping the other members of your team, as where all of you placed will determine the winner rather than just who comes in first. The power-ups and tricks also add a unique flavour to the races. The game also feels like Sonic despite shifting genres. The tracks are recognisable as being part of the zones you will have encountered before in previous Sonic games, and the music comes from the composer of Sonic Generations. Overall, it's a good, solid game. Not one that will necessarily enthrall you as a single-player experience, but definitely good for family time or house parties. Based on the first hour of gameplay, I'd say add it to your backlog for when company is around.
I've always got time for a chili dog.
Ghostrunner was my first experience with a first-person parkour game, and it hasn't enamoured me to the genre. I lasted 15 minutes before a combination of motion sickness and frustration got to me. That's a record, given that I never really suffer with motion sickness in games. I have no problem with controlling the camera, first-person perspectives, or speed. However, this game hit some sweet spot combination that knocked me for 6. This was made all the worse by the gameplay. The level of precision at speed required leaves absolutely no margin for error, and so lots of time for dying. The only way I can think to describe it is like a film director who requires intense, precise choreography because he wants his single-shot action scene to look cool. Except you're not the audience, you're the beleaguered actor being yelled at for your mistakes. Think less the progression through rote learning difficulty of the Soulsborne games, more being flung through the air and hoping you stick the landing. The slightest misstep equals death, and the level of motion sickness induced doesn't help with that. This experience won't be universal, of course, so if you've played other first-person parkour games, then you may want to give this a try. But honestly, my initial thoughts on closing the game were a lot harsher, and more profane. Based on 15 minutes of aborted gameplay, I'd say don't bother. Unless you're a lot more patient than me, and don't get motion sick.
Enough!
Ark Survival Evolved is a survival game in which you have to, wait for it, survive, stranded on an island with dinosaurs, prehistoric animals, and other human players. This is a difficult game to do first impressions of based on a short burst of gameplay. Based on the time I spent, it's largely unwelcoming, not bothering at any point to teach players any of the basic mechanics, or even provide simple button prompts. You're just kind of thrown in and left to your own devices. This kind of game will appeal to some players, but even then, it's worth bearing in mind that it will take far longer than an hour's investment to even experience a fraction of the mechanics and decide if it's something you actually like. So, in essence, whether or not you should add this to your backlog depends on if you enjoy this sort of thing already. There's a lot of trial and error, there's a lot of learning required from external sources to know what you're doing, and there's a lot of grinding in your future if you decide to stick with it. As such, I'd say add it to your backlog if this sort of thing appeals. Otherwise, don't bother. Ghost of Tsushima Legends is the multiplayer expansion for Sucker Punch's critically acclaimed 2020 game Ghost of Tsushima. I've not played the base game, but having played Legends, I can now safely say it's on my list of games to get. There's a tutorial at the beginning for anyone who hasn't put themselves in the shoes of a samurai before, and then you get to dive into the gameplay proper. The main modes are story, survival, and rivals. Story, as the name suggests, leads players through narrative adventures based on Japanese legends. Both it and survival are co-op modes, the latter being an assault by waves of enemies as you and your team defend an area. Rivals is a PvP mode which pits two teams against one another. I only played story mode, but it left a solid impression on me. The gameplay is tight, with an effective combat system which feels adequately challenging, whilst the narrative is simple but engaging. The atmosphere is fantastic, and it's definitely worth sinking your time into, as well as being a good gateway drug for the base game. Based on the first hour of gameplay, I'd say play immediately.
The deeds of the ghosts are many. Let me share one with you.
This month's PS Plus offerings are definitely a mixed bag. Let us know if you've played any of them, and what you thought of them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more unprofessional opinions on gaming. Cheers for watching, and see you next time.